Coming up on Newsnight, we explore a part of the state politics that has a huge impact on the state, redistricting. And we explore it with a political scientist, a journalist, and a community activist. That's next on Newsnight. Welcome to Newsnight for December 14th. We're glad you're with us. You know, of all the topics that we have discussed in 14 years on Newsnight, the most frequent has to have been politics. And of all the issues, politically speaking, that have the most egregious impact on our state, it has to be redistricting, the redrawing of the congressional and legislative maps every 10 years. Well, the maps were redrawn last year amid much controversy and much gerrymandering. It resulted in a ballot issue 2, that failed on the November election ballot. But the discussion continues, both legislatively and among citizen groups. Here to help you make sense out of redistricting, we want to welcome Dr. David Cohen, who is with the Bliss Institute of Applied Politics from the University of Akron. Tina Merlitti, former Akron City Councilwoman and the current president of the Akron Area League of Women Voters. And our colleague, Steve Hoffman, political editorial writer for the Beacon Journal. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Glad you're all here to help us kind of figure this all out. Let's start with some basics here. How many congressional and legislative districts are there in the state of Ohio? David?
Well, there are 16 congressional districts in the state of Ohio. That is down from 18 over the last decade, and that is a result of movement of people across the country. Ohio is not growing quite as fast as other places, especially those states in the South and in the West. And so we lost 2 congressional seats, which, of course, was a big reason why we had such a battle over the newly drawn congressional districts. Then in the Ohio legislature, we have 33 in the Senate and 99 in the House.
All right, so every 10 years, based on the census and changes in population and demographics, we redraw maps. How is redistricting currently handled in the state of Ohio?
Well, it's a different process for both the state legislature and congressional districts. For congressional districts, it is a process that the state legislature as a whole takes control of. For the state legislature itself, it's done by an apportionment board, which is a 5-person board, which includes the governor, secretary of state, auditor, and a member of each of the political parties in the state legislature.
So both parties have a hand in this to some extent, correct?
Well, it depends. I mean, theoretically, yes, but it can happen that both the apportionment board, I mean, as happened this past time, that all the statewide office holders were Republicans on the apportionment board, so you were left with a lone Democrat on the apportionment board. And then in the legislature, it's a bill. Congressional redistricting is done in a bill. Both houses are controlled by Republicans. The governor is a Republican. Could the Democrats yell and scream? Sure, and they did, but in the end, it didn't matter. And the Republicans were able to draw districts the way that they, for their maximum advantage, is what it boiled down to.
And that's where the controversy came in, correct?
Absolutely.
Right. In fact, there was a lawsuit, and the Supreme Court ruled 4-3 in favor of the current maps. However, there were some dissenting votes that were a surprise from some of the Republican Supreme Court members, and we find some encouragement in that. The question was the compactness of the districts, and when they split communities, is that really compact? And that's something that we need to work on in further efforts. But they ruled that the maps were fine, but I think that the law could be a little stricter in that sense.
It was an unusual decision, I think, because this dealt with just the state legislative districts, but it was an interesting minority decision. You had Maureen O'Connor, a Republican, the Chief Justice, joining Yvette McGee Brown, a Democrat, with Paul Pfeiffer also joining, a moderate Republican. So if they found the districts drawn by their, Maureen O'Connor and Paul Pfeiffer at least, found the districts drawn by their own party to have gone beyond the boundaries of what the Ohio Constitution says. The Ohio Constitution does have language in it which deals, as Tina is alluding to, with splitting
communities, townships.
Right. And basically what the majority opinion found was, as far as I can read, I'm not a lawyer, but as I read the decision, I came to the conclusion that you could pretty much do whatever you want to do under this, under the majority opinion.
I was just going to say, the partisan nature of how we draw our congressional districts and our state legislative districts is not really a Republican or Democratic prerogative.
Right. Both of them
yes.
have been they have gerrymandered to their
Absolutely.
benefits.
I mean, if you look at Illinois, where Democrats control the state legislature, those were gerrymandered in such a way to advantage Democrats. Just so happens that more of the state legislatures are controlled by Republicans. And in Ohio, I think it's particularly egregious. I mean, let's face facts here. We have a state in which President Obama won this state twice. It's a state that is roughly 50-50, and yet 75% of the congressional districts are controlled by Republicans. Not only controlled by Republicans, essentially locked down and with the key thrown away. They are incredibly safe districts, and same thing goes for the four districts for the Democrat. We do not have any swing districts here where people actually have a chance to vote for somebody.
And the state legislature too, I think, is pretty unbalanced. You're looking at there's I think one recount left to go. You're looking at probably a 60-39. Split, 60 Republicans, 39 Democrats in the state, as David's saying, that Barack Obama won by 3 percentage points. Sherrod Brown won statewide by 5 percentage points. And then you have this. Now, over the years, I will say, I agree with David 100%. The Democrats, when they had the pencil, did bad things.
They did the same thing.
But I will say, I've covered this now for 3 decades. This is the worst gerrymandering that I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
I think that there was a spirit earlier, some spirit of compromise, in the sense that this was largely pre-term limits, when people felt some degree of caution. They didn't want to go too far. I remember when Jim Tilling from the Ohio Senate drew districts for the Republicans in the 90s. There was some restraint involved. And I think, Jim Tilling and others, moderate Republicans, felt we can win in these districts. We don't have to go too far. We want the majority, of course. But now things have really, really been pushed beyond, in my opinion, all reasonable boundaries. So there is a strong sentiment now in the legislature and among Republicans and Democrats both that there is we need to move quickly now to fix this, because it skews the political discussion in the wrong directions. You get two extreme sides, Republican and Democrat. You get Democrats from safe districts, Republicans from safe districts. Their concern, as we've said, is in a primary fight that drives them to the extremes of their own party. They're not willing, when they get to Washington or Columbus, to brook much compromise.
Well, is information that available that they can? I want our viewers to understand how gerrymandering is done. And I'm thinking about the district along Lake Erie that affected both Marcy Kaptur and Dennis Kucinich. I mean, are voters' proclivities known that much?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So they literally can take a pencil and draw a voter out of a district if they're going to vote one way or another, correct?
Oh, sure. The data's there. The campaigns have been using it for years. And in fact, in the last 10 years, there's been even more detail to the data. Everything from your last name, your sex, your how your family makeup is, and they do focus groups, and they figure out how you're going to vote, and then they draw accordingly. So it's very easy to make these districts where they are unfairly balanced to one particular side or the other. And unfortunately, the people are not served because they go to the extreme of their party, like Steve said, and then they don't fully represent their district and everyone in their district.
David, you called the congressional maps on one of your blogs abominable.
Yes.
Explain that. That's a pretty amazing term.
Well, but I stand by it because, I mean, you just look at the facts. Again, like I said, 75% of the districts are controlled by Republicans, yet we have a 50-50 state that the presidential Democratic candidate won twice. Come on, how can you possibly justify that? And again, you know, Democrats are partially to blame. In 2009, they were offered a deal for this nonpartisan commission, and they turned it down because they thought they would regain control of the state legislature. So, again, gerrymandering is a bipartisan problem.
Okay. Well, what we want our viewers to know is that on NewsNite.net, we have linked to 2 blogs that David has done, 2 blogs that not only give his opinion about this, but that also show you some of the different maps, the current map and the past map. That's on NewsNite.net.
For more NewsNite content, including extended discussions, full interviews, and the chance to speak your mind about the issues, join us online at NewsNite.net.
We are back, and we are going to continue our discussion about redistricting. The disagreement on the maps this past campaign season led to issue 2. Tina, I know that the League of Women Voters is very often a neutral party, but you, the League of Women Voters, joined with a group called is it Voters First
Voters
Ohio?
First, right.
Okay,
Actually,
tell us why that happened.
The League of Women Voters was the lead organization on Voters First as far as collecting signatures to put this issue on the ballot. We have been working for 3 generations on this issue since our current system was put in place in the 60s. We've worked with Democrats and Republicans. We've also worked on initiatives. And because they went so far with these maps, we had an outcry from multiple groups who wanted to join this effort. And we saw a lot of money being spent against this effort because, quite frankly, there are people out there who believe to the victor goes the spoils, and this is the way it is, and this is our system. But we believe that our laws should be written for fairness and to represent the needs of our people. So we want competitive, fair, and compact districts. And I think if we can get that issue back out there, which we're continuing to meet, and we're continuing to meet with our legislators as well. So I don't think you're going to see an end to this anytime soon.
Well, it's interesting to me that issue 2 was pretty soundly defeated. And was it defeated because of the kind of money that was thrown at the issue?
Well, I think it was that, but also the fact that it's a very complicated issue, and there are a lot of detail to it, and when you get confused about these issues, people tend to vote no.
I think the fatal flaw, if I might suggest in this amendment that the Bar Association jumped on, was the involvement of the appointment of appeals court judges in the selection process for a citizens commission. And there was, I think, in my opinion, legitimate concern over that, whether the judiciary really should be involved in picking people to be on this commission. I mean, the politics would be ferocious. I mean, you can imagine a 9th District Court of Appeals judge from our area, let's say a Republican for the sake of argument, since they were in control this time. I mean, if you don't think Alex Arshenkoff would be on the phone to that appellate court judge in about 5 minutes, you're wrong.
But even that part of it, all the judges were assigned to do was to read the applications for the citizen group, and then those names were chosen at random. But they took that and tried to make it seem like the judges had more power than they actually did. I mean, they're just pulling to make sure the applicants meet the law. And we do have judges in this state that make board appointments all the time. So that's not outside of the realm of what judges do. But, the other side made it seem like they were actually picking the people.
I also think the timing was really, really bad. You don't put an issue like this on the ballot during a presidential election, because all the money was sucked up, especially on the Democratic side that would be more sympathetic to this, for the presidential or senatorial election. There was very little money to actually run a campaign, and an issue is an issue on the ballot. It has to be run like a political campaign, and there really was not much enthusiasm or money behind that issue. And I think in an off year, with a slightly less complicated scheme, it actually has a much better chance of passing.
And I think people, there's some history to this. I mean, when voters face a complicated issue and their attention has been diverted elsewhere to the presidential election or U.S. Senate race, they work their way down the ballot. They get to a complicated ballot issue. They either skip it or they just vote no. The safe vote is just no. They don't really understand the current system that well, but they surely don't understand what the change means. So, they just vote no.
I want to talk about the election this past year that obviously just took place, and Ohio is perennially seen as a swing state, and we alluded to this in our earlier discussion about the way that districts are drawn, whether they're congressional or even legislative districts. How does the redrawing of a map impact a state that is supposedly pretty evenly split? David?
Well, number one, it limits people's choices. If you have congressional districts that are so out of whack and that are so safe, every single district is safe. There was not one that you can say, oh, this is a true toss-up. We really got to watch this on election night. Even the 16th district, which had some national attention to it, people thought it'd be closer. Renacci still won that by 4 percentage points, and Sutton ran about the best race she could. So it limits voters' choices. And to echo what Steve said and what Tina said, is you end up with a Congress of ideologues, which is, I think, the biggest problem, because these folks that go there are not worried about a general election loss or a strong general election candidate from the other side. What they're worried about is somebody from their own party challenging them in the primary and knocking them off for not being Republican enough or not being Democratic enough. And that's a big problem.
And it happens in the legislature in Columbus as well. I mean, both the Senate and the House in Ohio are pretty heavily Republican. And so it does bend the discussion. And not only does it work against compromise, but it also, as I think we're going to see in the next session of the Ohio legislature, you're going to see some bills come forward that, at least from the Democrats' perspective, and maybe even from the middle of the political spectrum, from the non-ideological voters, shall we say, that are going to look pretty extreme. But this is what you get. And my joke always is, when I'm running through reports of what bills that have been introduced in the legislature, I look for the small town. If some legislator from a town I've never heard of has introduced a proposal, I'm going, oh, this could be trouble, because
it usually is.
Yeah. Well, and you can also see with the retirements in Congress, you have a number of moderate Republicans this past term, such as Steve LaTourette, Olympia Snowe in in Maine, the defeat of Richard Lugar in the Indiana primary. How the heck does Richard Lugar, somebody who is really respected by almost everybody in Washington, how does he lose in a primary to a guy that ends up losing then in the general election?
Yeah, you're kind of looking at, in my opinion, you had a nice stretch during the Voinovich years, for example, when George Voinovich was governor. And even going back to Stan Aronoff when he was the Senate president, a Republican from Cincinnati, you had a fairly pragmatic brand of Republican politics in Ohio. It was not driven to the extremes. These were people, as George Voinovich used to say, I want to get into the bowels of government. But I mean, he was a fix-it guy. He was no ideologue. And Mike DeWine, for much of his career, was in the same camp. And I think what we're gradually seeing is the end of that era in Ohio. And then on the Democratic side, it's going to be hard because you have these safe Democratic districts. There are fewer of them, but they're equally safe. It's going to be hard for Democrats to compromise as well because they've got to move to the middle, And when you look at their districts, there's some of these districts that are absolutely bulletproof. I mean, and so there's very little. They have to go back to their constituents who are like, I don't know what the index is in some of these districts. I don't have it in front of me, but there's no way a Republican could ever win them in a million years.
Exactly. Well, just last week, we saw Senate President Niehaus, who is leaving. He's term limited out. He did some really good stuff in terms of not bringing bills forward, correct? Which would have been ideologically implicated bills, correct?
Yeah, I think.
Was it brave on his part, even though he's term limited out?
Sure, I think he did the right thing. There was a heartbeat bill, which would be probably the toughest anti-abortion law in the country. There was a voter ID bill that he stopped, and there was one other one that memory is not serving well.
Oh, the Planned Parenthood.
Yes, defunding Planned Parenthood.
Defunding Planned
Those
Parenthood.
Are the three. And he did stop those, the Ohio Senate has arcane procedures just as well as the U.S. Senate. But he was able to effectively stop this. Now, the incoming Senate President, Keith Faber, is a little more conservative, I think. And so this might have been just a temporary victory, on the part of Niehaus. We'll see.
I want to go forward and talk about where we go from here. And Tina, you talked about the Supreme Court decision just recently that said that the maps that were redrawn, in fact, are valid. So does that decision, does it spur real reform, or will it just make people throw up their hands and say we can't do anything here?
Well, you have a couple things. You have some people in the legislature that are continuing to look at this. You also have a commission, a constitutional commission looking at some of these issues. However, they have reappointment coming up in 2013, so it's not going to be moving quickly by any stretch, although that may be quickly in government terms. But so I do also, the Voters First Coalition is continuing to meet and looking at another initiative. So you have those three groups, and then of course League of Women Voters is working with our legislators that maybe they would come up with something that everybody could agree on. So we are going to move forward and try to tighten this up and try and make these districts fair and competitive and continue on this path.
Well, I know that we have put an invitation out there to Senator LaRose and Senator Sawyer, who are part of the legislative group that's working on a solution to this. We've invited them to come on the program, and when they've come up with a solution, I hope they will come on and talk with us. But that brings up another issue. If you have legislators who are going to be changing this process, is that not akin to the fox guarding the hen house?
Well, look, I mean, let's be clear about redistricting and reapportionment. I mean, you can't take the politics out of it. I mean, we might want to imagine some a figure that comes down from the heavens and solves this for us, but it's not going to happen. So what Senator LaRose, a Republican, and Tom Sawyer, a Democrat, have been working on, and they appeared last week to be picking up some steam among this bipartisan legislative task force. There's still the possibility that we could get action this week during the lame duck session, which would be good. The sooner we can get an issue on the ballot, the better, before the politics start to kick in. But the basic idea, they're still working on the bells and whistles, but the core idea that Sawyer and has advanced along with LaRose, and this is based on an idea that Secretary of State John Husted tried to push when he was in the legislature, is to basically to expand the apportionment board, expand the membership of the apportionment board to like 7. And then it would be bipartisan. You'd make sure that there were Republicans and Democrats on this expanded board. You would force compromise by requiring a supermajority vote, a 5-vote majority. And you would have to include minority participation. There would have to be buy-in by the minority members on this vote. So there aren't many rules connected with this other than that. There's a penalty clause in here, which I won't get into, which is way too complicated, in my opinion. But the core of this is, yes, you put legislators in charge, statewide office holders and members of the legislature in charge, recognizing that this is a political process. But you force a mechanism. You have a mechanism that forces them to compromise. One side cannot grab the pencil, or as Tina's alluding to, really it's the computer keyboard these days. But no one side could ever dominate.
But does part of that plan have to do with changing the maps as we currently have them, or are we stuck with the maps we now have for the next 10 years?
Oh, I think well, they could change it, but I don't know that they will.
But what does that do to the ability of this state to move forward when we are governed by ideologues?
I don't think that we can change this in midstream. The tradition in Ohio has been you do this every 10 years after the census. Most states do it. It's very rare that you get a mid-census redistricting. The reason that it's bad, I agree, the districts now are bad. I mean, they are really bad.
But we're forced to deal with them for the next 10 years?
If you open the door to a mid-census redistricting, that's a mouthful. If you start moving, then where do you, I mean, this could be a real political football.
But it is possible. I mean, states have done it. Texas did it in the last decade. But the problem is it opens the door up to a lot of legal challenges. The Texas case was in the courts for a couple of years. And I think just the way the composition of the state legislature is right now, I don't really see anything getting done. Unless there's an issue that went out to the voters to decide.
We've got less than a minute left. David, I want to start with you. What would you like to see happen?
Oh, I definitely think that the process of drawing the lines needs to be reformed. It needs to be reformed not only in Ohio but nationwide. I think it is an abomination, but it is constitutional. The Supreme Court has ruled on this. Partisan gerrymandering is legal as long as it doesn't harm the interests of a minority group, and they were very careful in Ohio not to do that. But I think it needs to be changed, fixed.
Tina, 10 seconds.
I think our law needs to be changed so that our districts are competitive and compact, and those are the two main parts of the law that need to be tightened up.
Steve?
I'm putting my money on the legislative task force and this mechanism that they've outlined, and I hope they get it on the ballot really fast because, like I said, the minute 2014 is in everyone's sights, the politics will overwhelm everything else, just of people getting reelected.
Well, thank you all very much for this. I know that we're going to be talking about this in the future, and I want to thank you for being part of our discussion on redistricting in Ohio. Good night.